so that I can show you something cool. Here we go. I'm popping it open. All right, let's start with this. Let's see how many people we got in here. 37. We're in a good spot. We're in a good spot.
México va ganando.
What's up, Gabriel?
Sorry.
All right, gotta mute Gabriel. That's fine. All right. When we enter the rooms, let's make sure we hit the mute button when we enter the call rooms. Let's make sure we just hit mute. I think that's a fair ask. Fable 5 releases 3 days ago. 2 days ago? 3 days ago? I don't know. Time flies. There's been this talk over the past couple weeks. There's been a lot of vague posting from Claude and OpenAI team members around this concept of loops. They're claiming that these AI models are so smart, you can just set them off and they'll work autonomously for days, figuring things out to do and then doing those things. That's the claim. I disagreed with the claim up to this point, right? They call it loops. Oh, you shouldn't be prompting your AI anymore. You should be building loops. No more telling your AI what to do. Build loops so the AI just figures out what to do. I mean, I've experimented with this a good amount for a while now, for months, and I just didn't believe it was like production ready, that concept. I didn't believe you can build any sort of professional software not prompting your AI and just setting up loops. I publicly fought back against it. Then Fable 5 drops a couple of days ago, and my opinion on that has changed. I've been using it pretty much nonstop the last couple of days, and I believe it's so good that you can have it loop autonomously and work autonomously for a very long time. Now, the critical thing here is that you need to set up the right systems and the right guardrails. So since Fable dropped, have been developing and building out a system and guardrails. What I'm going to show you is that system and guardrails. I'm not going to gatekeep it. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm going to share it all. You know, I've been thinking about it a lot, like, why has OpenAI and Claude been gatekeeping, or not gatekeeping, but vague posting about this so much? Typically, when you give advice about your tools, you go, here's how to do it. Here's how to execute on the advice I'm giving. But all of Claude and ChatGPT, their posts have been like, make sure you loops of the future, do loops. I don't prompt anymore. I just do loops. But none of them are explaining how to do it. And I think I've come to the conclusion after building my own loop and testing it out and using it, I've come to the conclusion that they're purposely vague posting and they're purposely gatekeeping how to do all this, because that's now the most valuable asset an engineering org has, is their someone's mic's off. Can we make sure we're on mute? Can we make sure we're on mute? I don't want to spend half the call muting people. All right, thank you. If you got a question, feel free to say something in the chat, then I'll call on you. Where was I? I think that now the loop architecture people build is like the most valuable asset an engineering org has. If you have an infrastructure, a loop infrastructure that allows your AI to autonomously work and it's really good and it increases your efficiency 100x, you don't want your competition to have it, right? Because then your competition becomes as powerful as you. And so now it's almost like the moat a lot of these companies have, you know, is how they automate their AI. And I know I'm going on a soliloquy here, but I'll get to the action in a second. I just want to set the stage properly. Right? If everyone has access to AI, everyone has access to the same models. So what are the moats that are left if everyone has access to the same super intelligence? Well, how you use that intelligence, right? The infrastructure around. By the way, this is a fire tweet I'm coming up with here. Improvise. I got to write this down. Like this is like a banger 1,000 like tweet I'm saying out loud right now. So let me just write this down real quick. The things I'm saying. I think in virality. That's kind of how my brain works. I think in virality. I'm just writing this concept down real quick. I figured out why OpenAI and Anthropic are vague posting about loops. It's the last moat if everyone has access to the same super intelligence, then the way they use it is the moat. I'm going to share my complete system shortly. Boom, banger tweet, 1,000 likes, easy, save idea. Back to what I was saying. If everyone has access to the same intelligence, then what's the moat an engineering org has? How they use the intelligence. And if you use it in a super efficient way that allows you to have 1,000x efficiency, you don't want to share that. You don't want your competition to have that. And so now, I think the reason why there's been so much vague posting and not many tutorials on how to build this system is people just don't want to lose their advantages. So with that being said, I'm going to share everything I got when it comes to looping. I think this system has dramatically increased my efficiency, and I think there's way more I can do to increase it on top of what it's got. So let's see where we're at. Talked about Fable. What is a loop? Before I show you my loop, let me just talk about, well, let's make sure we're all on the same page around what a loop is. It is basically a system you put in place involving whatever tools you want that allows an AI agent, Claude Code, Codex, Hermes, OpenClaw, to work continuously and not require prompting. That's what a loop is. Typically, the way you were using agents up to this point to build stuff is you go to Claude Code and you say, hey, build this feature. And then you test it, it works, you merge it. Okay, then you go, all right, build this. No, I actually don't like that, change this. Okay, now do this, now build this. And your engineering experience up to that point is you hand-holding this agent to the finish line, which for the last 2 years was a dramatic improvement over what coding was the previous 40 years, right? The previous 40 years of coding was literally just manually typing code. Then for 2 years, you had this major revolution where you can just kind of tell an AI what to do and they do it, which is a major efficiency gain for sure. But now this is kind of the third stage. This is the third stage of development. Stage 1, writing code. Stage 2, telling an AI what to do. Stage 3, automating the AI. So that's what a loop is. Now to set the stage for what goes into my loop, I'm using several tools. I'm using Claude Code with Fable 5 because Fable 5, I believe, is the only AI that is capable of working autonomously for a very long time. It's the best AI model ever made. It's better than ChatGPT 5.5. ChatGPT 5.5 was the best coding model for, 3 weeks? And now their reign is over. It is now Fable 5. It is by far the best model. I'd say it's about an equal leap as Opus 4.5 was. If people were around back in November, Opus 4.5 dropped. It was incredible, mind-blowing, revolutionary. The biggest leap, I think, of all time for an AI model. I think this matches that. Truly incredible model. And so I'm using Claude Code. I highly recommend everyone here should be using Claude Code at this point. I think you can design everything I'm about to show you. I think you can design with Codex. I think you can do with ChatGPT 5.5 if that's your only subscription. I think you can do it. I don't think it'll be quite as good as Fable 5 just because Fable 5 is that good. Fable 5 is like unbelievable. But ChatGPT 5.5 is amazing. So I still think you could do this, just won't be quite as good. So that's Claude, Fable 5. The main two other main tools I think are important for this. One is Linear. I think everyone should be using Linear if you want to set this up. I've already got you guys to go on to Linear. If you've been watching the videos in the classroom and stuff like that, you're probably already on Linear. If you're not already on Linear, highly recommend going into the classroom section of this community. And there's a section on there for, I have like 5 videos on Linear. I'd watch them, just get set up and understand how it works. And then the last tool you're going to need for this is some sort of communication app. I'm using Slack. The reason why I'm using Slack is because I have teammates. I'm building Henry Intelligent Machines with a teammate. But you could probably do this with Discord. You could do this with Discord, this system, if you're more of a Discord person. And I don't think you're going to need to pay for Discord. I think you need to pay for Slack to do what I'm going to do here. Like it's like $8 a month or something. But if you're just doing this by yourself, you can do this with Discord. I'm pretty sure. 2 messages in the chat. Are you planning on updating the boot camp based upon Fable 5? I don't think I'll update the videos that are there. I think that I'm just going to add more videos on top of it. I think the videos that are there are still relevant and still cover the core of how to talk to coding AI agents properly. That doesn't change. I don't think that changes with Fable 5. It's just you tell AI, like the bootcamp covers the phase 2 of AI coding, how to handhold your agent through things. I still think that's important to know because I still think you will run into situations outside of this loop where you need to handhold your agent. So I don't think that needs updating. If I thought it needed updating, I'd update it. I think what I'm going to do is just make a whole new series on top of that, kind of a next part that covers the loop. If that makes sense, Alex Modal. Linear's great. Thanks for the recommendation. Of course, Shane. Highly recommend everyone take the Linear videos. I think there's 4 short videos. I think they're like 8 minutes each in the classroom for Linear. Highly recommend it. Now, with that being said, I'm just going to share my screen and we're going to go through it. Let's go through it. If you got questions along the way, Finn's the GOAT. You're the GOAT, man. GOAT first name, Alex. Great first name. Here we go. This is my complete system. I'm not gatekeeping anything. I might gatekeep this on YouTube so my competitors don't come in and steal my core infrastructure loop. And I'll walk through this. Gordon, I see you leaning in all close, making sure you see every little word there. I'll go through it. I'll explain it. Don't you worry. I'll explain it. What are you sipping? Oh, a little Tim Hortons. Good, good. I hope you got a little donut or something with it too. There you go. I think this is a Vibe Code Academy exclusive right here. I don't think I'm going to go through this full thing on YouTube. So enjoy it. Anyway, here's how it works. So Linear is the core of this entire system. Linear holds all the things you want to be built out in this loop, right? And the idea is this. Let me just paint the picture of how this workflow works. You wake up in the morning, drink a little water, get nice and hydrated, sit down to your computer, maybe you got a cup of Joe. And you sit down and you talk to your AI agent and you just explain all the features and improvements you want to build that day. So you go in, there's 3 core loops here: spec, build, review. It says /him because I'm doing this all in Henry Intelligent Machines, but just ignore that part. Spec, build, review, /spec, /build, /review. You sit down, you do /spec, and all the examples I'll use will be around Henry. /spec, I want a global chat option in the app. /spec. A user had this bug. /spec. The banner image is broken. Make that look good. /spec. Build AI marketing videos for meta ads that users can do, right? And so you just kind of brain dump in all these features with the /spec skill. What the /spec skill will do is, one, ask you any questions about each and every one of those features until it feels fully confident enough to build it. And then two, build the spec for it, build the document, build the issue inside Linear. So each one of those you do creates an issue in Linear. From there, there's another chat in Claude that is a /loop/build, just like this. And you hit enter. What that does, and then you can say like 20 minutes. What that does is every 20 minutes, this loop goes and calls /him build. What him build does is it goes and it looks for all the specs in Linear that haven't been claimed yet. And it grabs a spec and builds it. Builds it out. Builds it out, puts it on its own preview branch. For those who don't know, preview branch, you have GitHub, you have different branches. A preview branch is just like its own sandboxed branch. So whatever code it writes can't disrupt the production code, right? And so this loop is going, this build loop, that's just going and taking every spec, building it out, putting it on its own branch. Taking every spec, building it out, putting it on its own branch. Taking every spec, building it out, putting it on its own branch. Then there's a third loop going called /him review. So /review for you guys. And what that does is take the preview branches that it built, and a different AI goes and just reviews it. Make sure it matches the spec. Make sure it matches the acceptance criteria. Once that review passes, you come back at the end of the day, right? So you start your day, you gave it a bunch of ideas. It went autonomously, built out all the ideas and reviewed itself. And then you come back at the end of the day after all the reviews went. And then inside Slack, you have a channel or Discord that lists all the preview branches and then a list of how to test them all step by step. And then you go, you just click there, open the branch, test it, looks good to go, merge. Open a branch, test it, looks good to go, merge. So your day has went from sitting there all day, hand-holding, and I'll go into way more detail over everything I just said in a second. I want to start from a high level. Your day has went from hand-holding the agent nonstop to you come in, you give it a bunch of ideas, it spends all day autonomously building them and reviewing itself. At the end of the day, you test and merge. And this is from a more detailed perspective what's happening here. You give your raw ideas, it interviews you with the spec skill. You can approve the spec if you want, or you can just have it automated, approve it automatically. The builder's just looping. It builds a preview branch. There's a review loop that reviews it. Then you human review it and merge it. And then it all gets listed in Slack channels. Let me see what questions are in here first, and then we'll go into some other things. Loops are something I haven't personally used yet, but I guess it depends on what you're building, whether or not you can just leave the agents to discuss, decide, and make auto changes. How does it know the sequence of issues to build? This is a super powerful workflow. This is basically, all right, so how does it know the sequence of issues to build? So by default, it's just going to take whatever specs are unclaimed, then claim them and build them. Now, there are scenarios. Will you be posting that loop system doc in the community? Yes, I'm just going to need to remove some things from it because it has like environment variables and shit in it that are specific to Henry. So I'll make a generalized version that doesn't have like passwords and stuff in it. Because I shared this with my partner who I'm building Henry with, and I don't want. So it includes setup on how to him get up and running. But I'll do a more general version. What was I saying? Sequences. So by default, the build loop just takes whatever's available. Now there's going to be times where a feature you spec out will need multiple issues. So if you have like a super complex feature you ask your agent to build, it might create 4 or 5 issues, right? Because that's typically how linear works. You don't just put massive features in one issue. You break the feature down into multiple issues, like bite-sized chunks. What will happen is your agent will say, this issue is blocked by this issue, which is blocked by this issue, which is blocked by this issue. So your review loop will be able to know which issue to start with and do it in order if it's a complex feature. What models do you recommend for each phase? Spec, review, build, test. Says Nara B. I'm sure there's ways you can hyper optimize here, right? And use, Sonnet for review, Fable for spec, Opus for build. I'm sure there's ways you can hyper optimize. I'm going to be honest, I do Fable for everything. I'm on the $200 a month plan. I've been doing this nonstop for 2 days now. And I've used 25% of my limits in 2 days for the week. So not terrible. It resets tonight. I'm also going to be honest, I'm prepared to pay extra to keep using it. I turned on extra usage. So when I hit limits, it's just going to charge me API usage. I understand not everyone wants to do that way. I think if you're on the $200 a month plan, just give it a go. Use Fable for everything, right? Put it on high. You don't need to put on extra high. Why not get a second max subscription? I don't feel like it. That's the answer. I don't know. It's just easier if I turn on extra usage and then I don't have to worry about multiple subscriptions, stuff like that. A lot of questions coming in. 1 second. But I'm sure there's ways you can optimize it where it's like it uses Opus for building, Sonnet for testing. I'm sure you can do it that way. You're probably going to want to do it that way if you're not on the $200 a month plan. If you're on the $100 a month plan, you're probably going to want to do it that way. If you're on the $20 a month plan, you're not using Fable at all. Is Fable included in the $20 a month plan? I'm not sure. If it is, you're probably getting 1 prompt out of it, to be honest with you. My Claude desktop built a very similar workflow, and Claude is my QA for my local model agents work. I think, good point to bring up, Andrew. I think there are ways you can bring in local models here as well to save tokens. I'm sure when the build loop goes and there's nothing in the queue, it's still burning tokens. So I think there's probably ways to hyper optimize this so that you're using a local model as the building loop. And then when it picks up a task, it then can hand it to Claude. I'm going to be honest, I'm 2 days into this, right? I didn't believe in this until 2 days ago when Fable came out. There's going to be a lot of things I change and improve as time goes on. This is kind of my raw, what's worked for me up to this point. And so I'm sure things will change. I'm sure I'll have to optimize. June 22nd will come around. Anthropic's been kind of, we might take it out of the subscription. We might not. Bullshit. They're just trying to see what public sentiment is. If people get too angry, they'll keep it in the subscription. But they're going to eventually take it out. It doesn't make economic sense to keep it in. They'll eventually take it out. things are going to change. This workflow is going to change and evolve. This is where we're at right now. And I think you just got to go for it right now. I think you just got to build it, use it. And as you use it, things will improve and change. How much sleep are you getting? I'm not getting a lot. I really tried hard to prioritize sleep the last few weeks. When like OpenClaw came out in January, I slept like 3 to 4 hours a night for like a month. I was a total wreck. And eventually I was just like, this is unsustainable. I have to prioritize sleep. Last night I let go a little bit. I stayed up to like 1 a.m. doing this. That was bad. I shouldn't have done that. Do you have multiple sub agents using multiple models for certain workflows? No. I just have the default behaviors. If you turn on Ultra Code, then it'll use the new workflows feature, which spins up sub agents, but I haven't found the need for that. Have you tried adjusting the extra high or higher? Yeah, I've done extra high at times. I shifted it down to high for like one task, and then I never shifted it back up again. Again, no specific reason. High just keeps working for me. It just keeps working. Also, hopping to other subs would break your flow. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. You got to have separate windows. I'd rather just keep it on one. Claude is offering 30% for what is worth extra usage. Yep, I did that. I bought that the day Fable came out. I bought the $1,000 or the $700 package for $1,000. I created and pushed the app you posted the video about yesterday with Fable on $20 plan. Incredible. Oh, really? Amazing. That's great, Shane. Way to actually build along with the video. That's awesome. Alex coding vampire Finn. I know that a lot of front, but I can tolerate fixed cost, non-variable surprises. I tried using a workflow on Fable and used my 5-hour limit in 20 minutes and 23% of my weekly usage. Yeah, the workflows seem to be sick. So for those who don't know, there's a new feature in Claude Code called workflows where it'll spin up sub. I mean, they've tried to implement this 20 different ways. This is like their 20th iteration of this feature, but it'll automatically spin up like sub agents to do things when necessary. The issue is when you do this in Fable, it spins up like 10 Fable sub agents. And so now you're using like something that's already wildly expensive and then just multiplying it by 10. So, I wouldn't use Fable on Ultra Code or use the workflow functionality with Fable unless it's like truly a next level complicated thing you're trying to build. But I haven't found that necessary yet. All right, where did we leave off here? Let me see what I went over. So right now, there's different levels of automation. Right now, there is 3 human touch points in this process. As I get more comfortable and develop this out more, there will be more automation. I will take out the user touch points. So right now, there's 3 user touch points in this loop, the purple boxes. So raw idea, you go in the morning, give a bunch of raw ideas. You approve the spec. This is probably the next manual part I'll take out and just make it automated. So after all the specs are made, you go in and you hit approve in the linear issue. This is just to make sure you like the way it's going to build things out. But so far, I've reviewed like 6 or 7 different linear issues and they're all look fine to me. So to save time, I'm probably going to make this automated soon. And then actual merging. This is probably the last part I'm going to automate. I want to test and make sure it's good to go before it starts merging to production. I think that'd be crazy at this point to allow it to automatically merge to production. So this will probably always be human in the loop to like the last stamp of approval at the very end, like, yep, good to go, merge it. But the raw ideal one, I think there's a lot of ways this could get interesting. And I'll give you some of my ideas. I guess that's something to brag about. You got someone off mute. Dante. Because he was such a little boy. You're off mute, Dante. There we go. The people who get off mute, there's always something going on in the background. Like no one ever gets off mute and it's just perfectly silent. Every time someone gets off mute, there's always 20 people in the background talking. It's funny how that always ends up happening. If you got questions, feel free. Feel free to, go in the chat. Everything unmuted randomly. Sorry, you're good, Dante. If you got questions where you feel the urge where it has to be over the microphone, just say in the chat, hey, can I ask you a question? And I'll call on you. We can do it that way. And then you can feel free to put any random questions you have in the chat too. I'll go through them. So interesting ideas of where this loop can go. Right now, I think the most manual part is this first step, right? You still got to come in and give ideas for what to build every morning. And so this still brings a huge amount of efficiency, but you're still coming in and giving raw ideas every morning. I think there are ways to automate this even further. Imagine, here's like the next step, I think, in this. Instead of you coming in and giving a bunch of ideas and having to creatively think about what to build next, imagine a world where you just come in and you go onto Slack and the agent just starts asking you questions. Very easy questions. What do you think about this? Have you used this? What are your concerns about this? What will you change with this? And it just interviews you and you answer the interview questions. And then based on the interview questions, it comes up with a bunch of different features to build. I think that's probably even easier than having to sit there and come up with ideas at the first thing in the morning and giving it a list of ideas. So I think that's one way to make this even easier. Second way, taking this even to the next level, imagine a world where you up front have the agent build out really in-depth PRDs on your entire project. So really in-depth overview docs of your entire project and where you want it to go and the vision you have for it, right? So insanely detailed. This is the end state we want this project to be. Every feature, everything. Now imagine that just drives the development. So now you don't even have to answer questions in the morning. Now you don't have to give it commands. It just every morning looks at where your app is, looks at where your vision doc is, and then figures out how to close that gap every day. I think that's even the next level past this. And what's really cool is like, I don't believe 99.99% of people are doing this, anything remotely close to this. I don't think 99% of people are like using Claude, period, like effectively Claude Code. So if you're already building things with Claude Code, you're already ahead. But now you take it a step further and build out something like this. Now you're above the 99.99%. And so like this is greenfield. Like this is just what I've built so far based on experimentation and playing around. I'll show you my Slack too, just some of the things that happen in Slack. Let me share my screen here. Window, Slack. So like for instance, there's a linear block channel. So if linear ever gets blocked, if the builder's ever going and it's looping and gets blocked by someone, maybe it needs you to sign up for a site, get an API key, whatever, it messages me in this linear block channel and says, hey, this has been blocked. What do you want to do, option A or option B? And then I just reply, go with option A or option B. And then it checks it off, says, okay, unblocked, and then gets back to work. So this is all automated, right? This is how you can get creative with this stuff. What systems can you get creative with, right? Like my next steps I want to implement today is a testing channel where I just come in at the end of the day as a list of all the things it built out, and I click on each preview link, make sure it works, validate, hit checkbox, boom, it merges and ships, right? There's so many interesting little systems you can build up with this to increase your efficiency. And you build this out, man, this like, This 100x's your efficiency and everything else you do. So it's worth the upfront investment of building this out the right way. Like you build this out the right way up front, everything you and your team does moving forward is just 1,000 times more efficient. I mean, there's even further things you can do from there, right? Next, you build out a dashboard, front end, shows your whole loop. What linear issues are in build, what linear issues are in review, what linear issues are in the back queue. Then maybe there's a cute little animation of little robots walking around doing things, right? That's the next level on top of all of this. And now it's a publicly available, not publicly available, but it's on the web and you can share it with your teammates. And your teammates can all at any time go on their phone, like, oh, this is what our software factory is building and doing, right? Like this just opens up a whole can of worms. And this is something people have been talking about a long time. Like this isn't like some new concept I invented, but I've been trying to do it for a while. And I don't think the intelligence was there to get it done, to be honest with you. I think Fable 5 is the first time the intelligence is there. And again, I understand, having a $200 a month OpenAI plan, $200 a month Claude plan is tough. So if you're on ChatGPT only and not Claude, you decide OpenAI was the way to go. You don't like Claude's business practices, whatever. I think you can do this with ChatGPT 5.5. You can give it a go. There might be unreliable points. You work through it and you figure it out and you build it around it. You fix it. But Fable 5, I think, was a major unlock that kind of pushes all this stuff forward. So again, to kind of recap, let me just show you again. This is all built around the tools and the skills, right? The tools being Claude Code, Linear, Slack, the skills being spec, build, review, and /loop, which is the skill for Claude. But then I think in ChatGPT, it's like /orchestrate or something like that. And then you figure out what's right for your team. Build it your way, customize any part of this you want. And all I did was, hey, build a HTML file that explains our loop system. And it built this chart. Built it really easy. Then you can just share that HTML file around to all your teammates and they can look at it and see how the loop works. And you keep a record of that, right? You keep a record of it. You update it when you change your system. I think you play around with this. Every time you play around with it, you'll be changing and tinkering little things until eventually it's as optimized as it can get. I also, side note, if you're looking for ways to make money, like I think this is like a multi-billion-dollar business opportunity, to be quite honest with you. You become a consultant, go to S&P 500 companies, say, hey, I'll implement a development loop that'll 1,000x your efficiency. They'll probably pay you a couple $1 million. You productize this somehow where someone can just sign up on a website and all of a sudden they have a loop set up on their computer. It's a multi-million-dollar application. Every AI advancement that comes out, you want to think about, like, how can I build businesses around the infrastructure? How can I build businesses that help other people take advantage of this stuff? With that being said, where's my mouse? All right, here it is. I have a workflow as the brain muscle where Fable orchestrates and reviews and Codex 5.5 does the coding. That's a good move. That's a smart move, Wesley. That's a way around it, right? If you can get your system set up where Fable's doing the high-level orchestration and using cheaper models to do stuff, you can certainly do it that way. I'm sure it's not that difficult to do it all. Just go to your model and say, hey, this is what I want you to do, and then it'll figure out how to do it. When are you going to talk about the Knicks' 29-point comeback last night? Is OpenAI the Spurs and Claude the Knicks with Fable 5? I mean, as a Boston fan, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see New York fans happy. It's heartbreaking that they took the title from us for largest comeback in finals history. So that sucks. So yeah, I'm not happy about it. Spurs in 7. I want to see one more fucking celebrity smiling on a sideline after watching their first basketball game in 12 years. My ultimate goal, a max headroom animated assistant. Yeah, I think there's so many cool ways. Like once you build out your loop system, I think there's so many cool ways to like make it fun and like build out animations and dashboards that show everything going on. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do around that. Have you tried one-shotting something ambitious with Ultra Code? I mean, I've made major changes to Henry that were full stack database, front end, multiple third party tools that were involved that were all one shot changed by Fable. I mean, I haven't been able to give it a challenge it hasn't been able to handle yet. When they made the recommendations, hey, you have to be ambitious with this model, they weren't lying. You've been touching on this throughout, but what are some key things you've learned working with a partner versus on your own? My bro-in-law and I started building a business together, and I'm interested in insights on that aspect. Yeah, I've had some growing pains, to be honest with you, because I've been independent for a long time. And I've gotten used to many things. I've kind of grown my team for the first time ever over the last month, and it's been interesting. Um, I've tried very, very hard to be solo this entire time. And while I do believe AI makes it easier to be solo, I think at some point it's just smarter to hire people to do things, right? Like I have a newsletter with 40,000 subs. I haven't sent a newsletter in 2 months on it. I just have so much things going on. It's just like one of those things where I just can't sit down for 2 hours a week and write a newsletter. So I hired a team to help me with that, to help keep me on track, help come up with ideas, research, things like that. And then I'm working with Allison, who's the community manager here. And then I have a partner I'm working with on Henry. So it's helped make a lot of things easier. But it's just like something, it is a challenge. Like you have to make sure you water all your plants, right? You have to make sure everyone knows what they're doing, what the goal is, what the focus is. And that's something new. So, it's been helpful having the partner I have work with me on Henry is my former boss, actually, at my last job. I enjoyed working with him so much, I asked him to join Henry and help me out. So we had chemistry and trust going into it. But like it's certainly a change of pace working with people after you've been working by yourself. You're gonna need to learn. Like we had some growing pain around like me. I work 24/7, 365. I work from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep 7 days a week. He doesn't. He has a kid, which is like that's not the expectation for people to work 24/7. But like I'd give him a big task because that's what he wants. He wants to work on big things. And then it's like Sunday night and I want to work, but he has this big blocking task. And he's not working Sunday night because he's got a family. And so like I'd be like on Sunday night, which is for the record, a time most people do not work. They do not work Sunday nights. For me, I work Sunday night. So I text him, I hit him up like, yo, I want to work on this thing, but your shit's blocking it. And he'd get a little upset at me. Understandably so, looking back. And like, it's not like I was even like pressuring him to work on a Sunday night. I just wanted to know like where things were at. So what I mean by that, the whole point of the story is like when you start working with other people after being solo, you're probably going to step on each other's toes until you figure out what are the guardrails. Okay, he doesn't want me bothering him about work on Sunday nights. Okay, if I give him a big blocking task, this is what's going to be the expectations around this and that. You know what I'm saying, big dog? Is him going to have all this built in? This out of the box would be awesome. Make it plug and play, stupid easy. I mean, this is kind of the concept around Henry Intelligent Machines is it's a loop. It's a business loop. It's a loop that builds you businesses. So yeah. I mean, Henry Intelligent Machine isn't like an OpenClaw or Hermes or a Claude Code. Like it's not a replacement for all these things I'm showing you. Henry Intelligent Machine is an AI agent that builds you businesses, that finds challenges online you're uniquely positioned to solve, and then builds businesses around it. Are you using Fable 5 in Hermes, CLI, or Claude Desktop? I'm using Fable 5 in the Claude Desktop app. I do not use Fable 5 in Hermes or OpenClaw. I use Opus in Hermes. No, I don't think there's any need to use Fable in Hermes, or I think you'd hit your limit so fast and be paying outrageous amounts of money with the amount of tokens Hermes and OpenClaw uses. So Opus is great for that. Put a sign and gave to public URL. I have a comment question, says Spencer. Spencer, the floor is yours. Jump on in, buddy. I'm going to take a bite of my food while you do that. That's been sitting here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
So Fable 5, I've been using it for the last 2 days. It's changed my life so much. I'm driving, but I'm going to try and show you here. Got the new polo because Fable 5 is fire. Got the red polo on.
That's what I'm talking about. And you got the fire glasses on, dude. You are Fable 5 embodied.
I'm driving my daughter to softball, so I gotta take the camera off. But I just want to say a couple quick things and maybe a trick that maybe some folks in here can use with Fable 5. I feel like our workflows are very similar to what you were sharing. I have Hermes agents that are writing review packets or task packets, I call them, which are kind of the requirements, document the PRD, I think you called them, or something like that. And then I have CCD reviewing them. It's this whole huge workflow. And I feel exactly like you did. Like there was always some issue with like the TMUX pane or some kind of a reason why the dispatch didn't go. It was like it would be autonomous for like the authoring of the packets and reviewing them, but then dispatching to an executor or coder would always get hung up on some issue or another. And it just felt like I would get so close to having an automated workflow, but for whatever reason, I don't know if the model or me or somebody wasn't intelligent enough to pull it off. And I handed all that crap off to Fable yesterday. And I said, look, I've been struggling with this autonomous factory for a while, and we've been close, and I've seen pieces of it working. And it just, like for 4 hours straight, just went through my linear. It looked at all the tickets having to do with it. It saw a bunch of issues, a bunch of bugs. It was just fixing things. I mean, I saw it firing for like 3 or 4 hours straight, fixing things left and right. And now we're like 90% there. We have one more hurdle to get over. So that was really cool because I'm really confident I'm going to have this autonomous factory going here pretty soon. But the trick that I learned too is when I ideate with Codex and with Claude, they'll create a ton of issues because we come up with ideas and they'll create, like you said, 5 or 6, 7 issues. And then I'll be focusing on something else because I'll be orchestrating a bunch of agents at once. And then I lose sight of those issues, even though it's part of the product that I'm trying to deliver. And then I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, shoot, we got to do those too. But then it takes me in the loop. So then it takes time. So what I did was I took a screenshot of a project and it had like 30 issues in the backlog. And I just asked Fable 5, I said, hey, can you review these 30 issues? Based on what you know about the product, because it's been in there and it's seen my whole repo and everything. I said, let me know which ones are stale. Let me know which ones need a little nudge. Let me know which ones maybe we got all the way to PR and it never merged for whatever reason because I lost sight of it or I got focused on something else. It went through in like 20 minutes, did an audit, and then it fired off a bunch of work to be done. It closed a bunch of them out that were superseded. I mean, that was all off a screenshot. I mean, this thing is so freaking powerful and makes me so more efficient than I was 2 days ago. I'm so excited, and that's why I'm wearing the red polo. I just wanted to share that with you, Alex.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. First of all, you're feeling how people should be feeling. People should be excited about this. People get angry at me on social media for getting like super excited and happy about all this stuff. We're literally witnessing the most powerful technology in the history of our species. We should be excited. That's insane. We're living through the birth of it, right? So that's one. Two, I like the way you approach your loop where like this isn't going to be flawless. You're going to set this up and there's going to be issues. This is a very complex system. And like, I think of it almost like a surgeon where as you build these things with AI, these systems, like there's going to be issues. you just think of it like a surgeon. We're like, okay, what's broken? Is the bone broken? Is the thing lacerated? Okay, how do we fix that one thing? What is the core of the issue we're facing, and how do we fix that thing? And the AI can do that. So if you set up a loop and it's like the code's bad, or it's not putting it on the right branch, or it's, the merges are breaking, you take a step back, you go to your AI and you say, hey, this is breaking. This is the issue. This is the error. What's the issue and how do we fix it? And then it goes in, and then every time you fix one of those things, the system gets better and simpler and more efficient. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again until it works, right? A lot of people, when they run into these issues, when they're building the loops or building any sort of complex system, they run into an issue and they roll over and die. So most people, I talked about this in the Claude Code Bootcamp for those who took it. Still recommend everyone take it. It's actually like the first module, I think. I talk about mindset. The critical mindset with AI, if you're going to be successful, is you can't just roll over and die when you run into challenges and issues. So many people in the world, and this is a vast majority of the world, operates like this. In some ways, my partner building this out, like at first he operated this way, where it's like you run into an issue and your gut initial reaction when you run into an issue is running to someone else, asking someone else, giving up. But with AI, it's never been easier to just figure it the F out. I'm trying to curse less. It's never been easier to figure it the F out, right? Autodidactic. That's like the most important quality a person can have right now with AI is the ability to be autodidactic, the ability to figure it out yourself. With AI, it's so easy to just figure it out yourself. Anytime you're running challenges, setting this up, anytime you run into issues, anytime you can't think of a way to do something, anytime it's a challenge to be creative, just go to the AI and say, hey, how do we do this? What's the best way to approach this? How do we fix this? I promise you'll be able to figure it out. You don't need to lean on other people anymore. Thank you, Spencer.
No problem, buddy.
Drive safe. If you crash while asking me a question, I'll never be able to forgive myself. Do not crash while asking me questions.
That's why I took the camera off. I had to just concentrate on my words. I couldn't worry about whether I was in the frame or not.
All right, good. Good. I used UltraCode to go over my whole system. All my software got upgrades because of it. What if you want to use loops for non-coding related projects? For example, surfacing info through tons of, 100%. There's a lot of opportunities around loops for that stuff too. Surfacing data, like that's a good idea for using loops with local models, right? That's what I do. Every 20 minutes, Quen 3.6 on my DGX Spark searches the web for a specific type of data. You can set those loops up too. Do you have a class on setting up linear? I got good news for you, David. You are a part of a community that has a class on setting up linear. If you go here, let me go. I won't vague post about this anymore. Let me show you exactly which course it is. I'll screen share it so everyone can see it. Let's go classroom. Let me share my screen. Share. Everyone's got to take this. If you're into the loops, which you're now an hour into this loop conversation, you got to be able to use linear. Here we go. This is in here we go. AI workflows. So you go to AI workflows in classroom, right? So you got classroom at the top, AI workflows, bada bing, bada boom, you click. Introduction to linear, linear advanced, linear integrated with Claude Code, linear and OpenClaw. Boom, 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 boom.
Awesome. Thank
Everyone should take it. Yep, of course.
And did that replace? Is it Kaban, the one on Hermes, their flow system? Is that
No,
the same thing?
so I think what is it? The official pronunciation. I get 1,000 comments every YouTube. It's Kanban. It's not Kanban. It's Kanban. I don't care. I think the official pronunciation is Kanban. I say Kanban. Don't care. Does not replace Hermes Kanban. Here's the way I like to think of it, David. Linear, I'm using that primarily for product development. It's a product development tool. That's what it is. It's made for people building products. So it's got a whole bunch of functionality around building products and tracking tasks and owners and things like that, right? Hermes Kanban, that's more for managing your employee that does stuff across your computer, building presentations, moving files around, checking on things for you. That's more general employee work. So I still use both. When do you use loops versus goals? A goal I set last night for a major feature ran for 10 hours on Fable, 2 hours downtime for usage limits. Holy crap. I mean, I would use goals if I was manually vibe coding, like I was telling, hey, do this, then do this, then do this. Kind of the phase 2 of vibe coding. Phase 3, which is the looping, I don't think you really need slash goal. You need slash loop, which loops it over and over and over again. But because the tasks are being broken down into small issues in linear, you don't need a huge, massive slash goal. Do you mind me asking what percentage breakdown you have? You brought a lot to the table, and I'm thinking about partnering with someone, but I'm deep in the project and have sales relationships. I'm assuming, Sean San Jose, that you mean like, how did I split like the equity with the partner?
Yes, sir.
I mean, there's a lot of factors involved, Sean. Like if you come up with an idea together and then you start building it together, then you probably want to split it 50-50. For me, I came up with the idea. I built out the entire prototype. I got 9,000 people on the wait list. And then I went to my former boss and said, hey, do you want to help me build this thing?
And you have the
I
distribution.
gave him, and
Yeah.
I had the distribution, right? And he's like also not working on it full time. So
That's
that
my
split
concern.
is
Yeah.
99.25 and 99.75 and 0.25. That's the split between us.
Yeah, my concern, like with that setup, like you said, with the blockers, right? Because if you have something that needs to be done and he's only 2.5% invested, how willing maybe is he going to be to get certain things done?
I mean, if you believe in the project and you have any sort of equity, and you're like, oh, I have a blocker, but I don't really care, then you're not a good partner. Like, are you in or you're out, right? Don't accept terms and then be like, yeah, I got this thing, but I don't really care. Like, that's not a good partner. You know what I'm saying, big dog? I mean, there's a lot of nuance to all this that it's just hard for me to go all over on a single call between our relationship and how we work together and all that. So it's not as simple as everything I just said.
No,
I
but
mean, obviously you want them invested.
You gave things to think about, right? And you want them invested. And so I was thinking of partnering with somebody. My concern is like I'm working on Sundays and, if they have a family. So those are all things that take into account when you're
negotiate with them. There's also complexity around where I'm at, where I've raised money. I raised money before he came on. I raised $500,000 at a $5.6 million valuation. And so me giving him a percent in the company is actually a hefty amount of money I'm giving him, right? Like that's not nothing. If you haven't raised money and you have no valuation, you're giving them a percent of nothing, right? So it's easy to kind of throw around percentages. So the equation also changed because I asked him to come on after I raised money. Make sense? There's a lot of complexity. I'd say this, dude. I'd ask, like, I gave you the best advice I could give you based on my situation. You might want to go to Fable and say, hey, I'm thinking about bringing this guy on. I don't know if he's all the way in. here's what I have. Like, it depends on what do you have built out so far. How much of the idea have you developed already? How much did you contribute to the building of the product and the development of the idea? Those are all things you got to take into account. Can I ask you a question over mic? Fine tuning. Yes, Gordon Lloyd, you want to jump in here?
Good do. Tim Hortons is down, so thanks for noticing.
You drank it all. It's good. You got it all down the gullet.
Yeah. You get up to Northern Alberta, I'll buy you Tim Hortons.
Next time in Northern Alberta, Gordon, I'm hitting you up.
Okay, to the Rockies. Yeah, it's worth a visit. I'll keep it short. I'm just excited, number one, that I get to talk to you now because I've been watching you a while on all your shows and seeing you on Moonshot was pretty cool.
Thank you.
I am drinking from a fire hose when it comes to learning software engineering. So my application really is about I'm sales first. These gen sets behind me, that's what I sell. So all the data centers that are powering Claude Fable, these are the generators that I'm selling. So I'm looking to build this automated sales agent. And where I'm getting hung up, and of course, I know I can reverse prompt. And with the loops, I don't know if it's gonna fix it or not. But the problem I'm having is that I get a prototype. I say, hey, I want a dashboard of mission control, and I get something, and I look at it, and number one, I don't know all the terminologies and the bands and the pop-up windows and how all these terms work. And I've been iterating back and forth and saying, hey, I take screenshots and this. I was just curious because it seems like I've been spending a lot of time just tweaking the setup. Hey, this horizontal scroll is not working. This isn't working, and all these issues that come up. So I'm curious if there's an effective or an efficient way to get to something that's a lot more polished and usable without having to tweak all the little buttons and the things. Oh, this isn't working. The delay on this pop-up is all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can reiterate it, and it's probably a mindset thing, but ultimately I'm just trying to see if there's a little bit more of a way I can get to a polished product, because I just want a mission control that I can effectively be using for my sales process. That's the goal. So appreciate you.
I mean, I'm sure there's ways to automate this where you can use different plugins like Playwright, I think is one of them, where you can have the agent itself click around and use the website. And you can say, hey, loop through the website, go through every possible path and make sure everything works well. You know, if it's not working well, it's probably just a code issue. So you can just say, hey, I want to focus on UI polish, go through all the code around UI and make sure everything's polished and works well, right? So there's ways to loop around it specifically for that. You know, I think at the end of the day, you're going to want to test everything manually anyway. You're going to want to go through and so maybe you just, as you're testing manually, just quickly note down in a notepad, oh, this was slow, this popped out weird, this button looks off. You just take the notepad, you give it to the agent and have it loop through all of them. That's probably the best way. But I mean, I think it's going to, I don't know if we're at the point yet where you can eliminate all user testing, but you could probably make the development of the issues you find in user testing pretty quick.
Thanks.
Of course. Thanks for the question. I got no family and it's almost 11 p.m. in the Netherlands and willing to go to 1 a.m. Wake up at 6 a.m. for my full-time job. Hire me. It's funny, Daryl. I've been chatting to my agent. About connecting Fable, Cloud Code, Slack, Discord. He is suggesting writing a skill for spec, build, review, trying to figure out. Yeah, boom. I mean, I'll get the transcript of this video out there. Take the transcript, give it to your agent, say, hey, find the part where he talks about a loop. Let's build out a similar system. That's everyone's homework here. I've heard from other C-suite peers that they have problems with some developers who stop and throw their hands up when they run out of token allowance for the day. This is the wrong mindset, and it is happening, 100%. Do you recommend those linear workshops in addition to your YouTube videos on linear, or is the AI workflows video? I think the videos we have in the community on linear are going to be more in depth. So I went from a high level in the YouTube video. I'd go to the more in-depth route in the community. That's usually how I do it, where I'll cover things from a high level on YouTube, but then I go super in-depth, step by step in the community. I use Hermes. What would be the best way to have Fable improve my workflows? There's no ways. I don't recommend using Fable for Hermes. I don't think it's necessary. I think Opus is the sweet spot for Hermes. Goals have helped my Claude focus on improving my agent infrastructure. Do I need a partner? Sure would like one. You don't need a partner. I don't think you need one. I want one because, one of my moats is distribution, right? YouTube, Twitter, my newsletter. Also, this community, Vibe Code Academy, this is something very important to me. This isn't effort-free. Put a lot of effort into this. I want to make sure this community is valuable for everyone who joins and uses it. You're investing in me, and I want to make sure I invest in you guys and make sure you get more value out of it than you're putting in. And so, I think if your life is dedicated to building your project, I don't think you need a partner. For me, I need to make YouTube videos. I'm making a lot of sacrifices right now. I haven't done live streaming in like a month, and my live stream was like the biggest AI live stream. And I had to cut it out because this project's too big and important, right? So bringing on a partner is going to make those things easier. I still have to make sacrifices though. So it just depends. It depends how much help you need to accomplish your goals. I need a lot of help because I need to put out YouTube videos. I need to tweet. I need to put newsletters. I need to maintain the community. I need to do live streams. I need to fundraise, things like that. Nuance 100%. The negotiation around equity often tells you you're not with the right peeps. It's important and helpful all the way around. 100%. Question regarding agent building versus workflows. We'll make this the last question. Dante, you want to ask the last question here?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. This might be a little bit of a higher one, but I build agents for businesses, and the linear thing's really cool, like from an engineering standpoint. But given the Fable drop, I wanted your take on, as far as like when it comes to building a harness for a company, should I get away from Hermes OpenClaw and just use like the Claude Agent SDK? And then from there, because the hard part's really memory building and wiring. So I'm, just thinking about the future of like what I do. What's your take on like harness building itself with Fable, or kind of that side?
What was the original intention behind building a custom harness for the company?
Basically automating workflows, but kind of taking the next level of a dashboard and creating like replies for the CEO in Slack, for example, that answer in his voice. So there's a lot of fine tuning of like the voice and taking a lot of his transcripts and things like that. And this is just one example, but most of them use some kind of either Slack or Teams system. So it's an agent in that. And like I said, the linear thing is cool. It's just kind of more, engineer development focused. And Fable just like has changed the landscape when it comes to agentics. So I'm just, if you were in my shoes, should I just go like all in on the SDK building? Or should I mess with the third-party harnesses? This is literally like what's been plaguing me the past 2 days, dude.
Are you building this for one? Are you building this as a business where you'll sell this to multiple companies, or are you doing this for one specific business?
That's kind of the goal. Honestly, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to, create a full-blown company out of this. Right now, I need case study and proof and, my own taste development. But that being said, I think when it comes to like a product that CEOs want, they don't really care. You know what I mean? As far as what it's capable of, what model it's using. So that being said, like some business owners don't, I can see getting away with something like Hermes or OpenClaw, or I have been getting away with that. And then there's others where it's just not as, detailed and structured for like enterprise big teams.
My concern with the Claude SDK is you're locked into the Claude models. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a fan of being locked into them. I don't think there's a lot of price flexibility with them. They're all, even Haiku, I think for what it is very expensive. And so I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that kind of vendor lock-in.
Same.
You know, I think we're going to live in a future where a lot of companies will have their own AI infrastructure. They'll have local models running. They'll have GPUs running local models. They'll have models they custom built themselves. And I think they're going to want to tie that into whatever agents they're using. And so that's why I've never built anything around the Claude SDK, is that you're just locked in forever to Anthropic. And I just, I think it's just too, the world moves too fast to be locked into Anthropic forever, even though they've clearly over the last couple of years have proven they're the dominant AI company. So, you know, I think to give you a highly specific answer, I would just like need to know in detail, what are the requirements of the agent you're building? What are the guardrails? Like what is all the purposes behind it? Privacy, all that. I think
I have a tech background, so a lot of that
yeah.
has been, you know, fleshed out, and it is like nuanced. But to your point, yeah, it's just so hard to get locked in to one.
I think it's hard with Hermes and OpenClaw to make it like enterprise ready, because they're so open and you can do pretty much anything with them. So I think there's probably a middle ground where you make an agent that's like has very specific NemoClaw. I'm going to be honest, I'm not too educated on NemoClaw, Andrew. I know it's like built for enterprise. I haven't used it too much, so I don't know. But yeah, I think building custom solutions is probably the way to go.
Cool. Thank you.
If you, Dante, make a post and tag me and put like more of the nuance in there, then I can probably give you a more specific answer. Like put a post in like the community. Like, here's all the decision-making factors, and you tag me. I could probably give you a more nuanced answer.
Sweet.
I got a jet. I hope this was helpful. I have the recording. I'm going to post the recording. I'll also post the transcript. So you can just take the transcript and give it to your AI and say, hey, let's build this system. And it should get you at least most of the way there. There's no boot camp tomorrow. I traveling for the next couple days. I'm just going to say this. Your boy's turning 36. Traveling for number 36. Shout out me. Made it another year on this planet. The 36th year is going to be the goatest of them all. So no boot camp Friday. We'll make up for it, though. We'll make up for it. I'll join the scrum on probably Wednesday. I'll join Wednesday's scrum and kind of update on where my loop is at. I'm sure this loop's going to be evolving every single day. So we'll do Wednesday, join the scrum. Thursday, live vibe coding session. I'll probably talk about the same damn thing. Friday, live boot camp, probably talk about the same damn thing. This is a very important topic and subject. Love you all. This is like as exciting of a time as it's ever been to be on planet Earth right now, playing with tech, being a dork, being a nerd. If you're in this community, you're a nerd. Be proud of it. Spencer with the red shirt, jump on in.
Happy birthday, big dog.
Thank you, big dog. Appreciate you all. Means a lot. Oh, here we go. One last ask. As you go and take everything we talked about in this session, which I think was an incredibly valuable session, and you start building out and executing on it, share it in the community. Share it in the community. Me and Allison are gonna be implementing some programs over the next couple weeks, like rewards programs, like people who post the most valuable stuff, help out people the most, things like that. So when you build the loops and you execute on this advice, share it all in the community. What loops you bought, built, what results you're getting, things like that. Share it. Like there's so much, like what I showed you, I think is pretty sick. But like, I think it could be 100 times sicker. So let's all work together and like teach each other shit and learn shit and like, you know, we'll all improve together. What's that?
Yes, sir.
Can I do a follow up on that? Something we've talked about in a Scrum call recently.
Yeah.
We had this idea shooting around because I had the idea because I didn't have the idea, but I had a product I built. I'm like, oh, I would love for you to share it. Obviously, a lot of people probably have that same idea, and I was like, okay, he's not going to share it. But then I thought, what about a monthly thing where people who have products or ideas or whatever they've worked on submits it, and it gets reviewed either by yourself and the community. Hopefully, the community, but you review it, spend an hour on it, and whether and you give the honest truth about it and post about it maybe socially to help us out a little bit. And you have to be honest also. That means if it's crap, you will let it be known that it's crap. You'll spend an hour on it and say, hey, yeah, I tested this. You'll be as